Welcome to the Concrete Briefing. I am your host, Carter Concrete. Today, we are laying the foundation on one of the most resilient structures in modern entertainment. We are exploring the life, the logic, and the linguistic mastery of a man who turned a small-town Mississippi hustle into a global comedy empire. We are analyzing the maestro of improvisation, the co-creator of the hit 85 South show, and a man who refuses to be built or broken by anyone but himself, Karlous Miller. This isn't just a story about jokes. This is a thriller of entrepreneurship. It's a drama of survival. It's a journalistic deep dive into how a cussing-ass kid from Oxford, Mississippi, out-hustled the industry to debut at #1 on Netflix. Grab your hard hats. We're going in. Every skyscraper needs a solid base. For Karlous Miller, that base was Oxford, Mississippi. But don't let the collegiate charm fool you. For Miller, this was a training ground for the ultimate hustle. Growing up as the oldest of 8 children, Miller occupied a unique position. While his brothers grew to be giants over 6 feet tall, Karlous remained the smallest. This physical disparity forced a psychological evolution. When you can't outmuscle 7 brothers, you must out-talk them. We argue that Miller's comedy isn't just funny. It's a survival mechanism turned into a commodity. The cultural history of the rural South often relies on oral tradition and playing the dozens to establish social hierarchy. Miller leveraged this Oxford pressure to develop a speed of wit that most comedians can only dream of. But before the stage, there was the fire. In a dramatic turn, Miller actually trained and served as a firefighter. However, the thriller ended when the chief told him they had to enter a burning building. Miller's logic was impeccable. I'm not going in there. We're going to fight fire from the outside. This wasn't cowardice. It was a precursor to his business logic. Miller is a man who assesses risk and refuses to enter burning buildings that he didn't build or can control. In 2005, Miller took his blueprint to Atlanta. The city was popping Magic City Mondays and the era of the Ferraris. Miller knew he had to find a way to stay. He hit the stage at Twisted Taco and never looked back. Miller posits that in a capitalistic society, if you don't have something for sale, you won't make it. He argues that black entertainers must move from being employees to owners. Behind this argument is the influence of titans like Tyler Perry. Miller watched Perry build a studio in Atlanta and realized that Hollywood often only picks one black person they like for major roles. Miller's response? Build your own studio, create your own stars. This wasn't just talk. Miller, along with DC Youngfly and Chico Bean, formed the 85 South show, creating a platform where they could be strong where the other is weak. The guerrilla element. For 2 years, they operated out of Steve Harvey's studio for free. Harvey didn't know they were in there at first, but when he found out, he allowed it to continue because they weren't smoking it up or causing trouble. This guerrilla entrepreneurship allowed them to build a massive following with zero overhead. When they finally signed a deal with Netflix, they did it on their terms, debuting at #1 independently. Karlous Miller is known for making energetic and explosive arguments regarding social dynamics. Let's explore the linguistic and cultural roots behind these stances. Miller claims he started this hashtag because he was tired of black men being misrepresented. The argument, if you aren't in a relationship, you can't cheat. The analysis, this is a linguistic subversion of social stigma. By reframing cheating as a failure of partnership definition, Miller uses humor to protect a group he feels is the least respected on the planet. In one of his most dramatic policy suggestions, Miller argues for the legalization and regulation of prostitution for medical purposes, specifically to combat male depression. The reasoning, he compares it to the marijuana industry. He argues regulation would lead to decreased violent crime and a boost to the economy, calling it the vagina industry that could do for America what marijuana did for Colorado. The concrete part of Miller's story is his unstoppable work ethic. He tours 40 to 45 weeks a year, often doing 8 shows a weekend, performing as late as midnight. Why? Because he knows that black people make you famous, but white people make you rich. He maintains his hood credibility while parlaying that into mainstream platforms. Even at rock star status, Miller remains a journalist of the streets. He analyzes the beef between Kendrick Lamar and Drake through a lens of competition and struggle, noting it is hard to beat a man like Kendrick who struggled for real. He even weighs in on the Cat Williams' Pandora's Box interview. Miller acknowledges the beef Williams exposed was already known to comedians, but Williams chose to let the chopper sing in public. Miller's stance is one of understanding the get back. In 5 years, Karlous Miller plans to be owning even more studios. He is a man who was fired on his day off from Wild 'N Out and used it as a stepping stone to even greater heights. Karlous Miller is the prime example of the modern independent titan. He uses the linguistic tools of the rural South, the business logic of Atlanta, and a fearless commitment to being funny to ensure he is never canceled by a system he didn't create. He is the maestro. He is the owner. He is Karlous Miller. I'm Carter Concrete, and this has been the Concrete Briefing. Stay solid.